In this video I'm going to talk about the differences between major sevens and dominant sevens. You need to have a basic understanding of what a major scale is for this lesson to make sense. I'm going to start with a major seven and then I'll move on to the dominant seven and go over how the feeling between the softness of a major seven feels versus the edginess that a dominant seven has. So my major scale, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's my 7, octave. Because that's my major 7, and if I put it in a chord, it is my major 7 chord. The difference between that and a dominant is, the dominant, I would just flat that 7. So that's a dominant 7, major 7. Definitely a big feel difference between those two. If I put these within a progression, let's say a 1, 4, 5 progression, so I'm going to use my C, my F, and my G chords, and their scales to figure out what the 7 is. It would be like this. Here's my major 7 of C. Here's my major 7 of F. And here's my major 7 of G. Now remember, you need to have a basic understanding of scales to find your major 7s of each one of these chords. If I put that into a 1, 4, 5 progression, I'm going to start with that softer feel major 7, and I'm going to put a major 7 on all 3 chords, which is a bit unusual, but it'll get the point across of the softness of those chords. So it definitely has a very soft feel to it. If I use all dominant 7s and I play that same progression, it's definitely going to have a different edge to it. That's used a lot in blues, rock, country, jazz. Just about everything is going to use a dominant 7 at some point in popular music. Major 7s are used. They're usually much more with ballads, things that are slightly softer, jazz tunes. Some jazz tunes will use that. And you'll see it printed. Obviously, sheet music, you will get to sheet music eventually. Chord charts, it'll always be the chord followed by a triangle with a 7 if they mean major 7, or like for instance it'll say C with a triangle and then the number 7, and that means this chord, or it'll say C MAJ 7 for C major 7. If it just says C7, it's going to always mean dominant 7, or F7, that means dominant 7, or G7, dominant 7. It's very important to understand the textural differences between a major 7 and a dominant 7 to understand how to do things also like bass lines, like how to walk a bass line. So I'm going to use my dominant 7 in these, show you how to walk a bass line. Dominant 7, dominant 7. Now if I put a chord with that, it definitely has an edge to it, and you can hear where a lot of influence from the blues came from, right into rock, into everyday pop with that kind of a bass line and those type of chords. Again, now I'll go back to a major 7. Major 7s are also good because I can use them a lot with inversions, and it'll give a different feel depending on what inversion I play. So if I take my my root position, C major 7. And then, if I invert this, my F major 7, right? So I take my F major 7, I invert it, and I invert it again. So I'm on my second inversion. I can take C to F. Very soft sound. And it gives a little bit of dissonance, a little bit of longingness right here between these two keys. Now, a lot of times you're not going to use your major 7s through every single chord. There will be dominant 7s mixed with the major 7s. So for this example, I'm going to use my major 7 for my 1 and my 4. And then I'm going to use a dominant 7 when I get to my 5 chord, my G. I'm going to play my G as a second inversion G. So there's first position, that's root position. First inversion, second inversion. That's my second inversion G chord. If you look at the way that this is shaped, it looks a whole lot like my second inversion F major 7 chord. So it's very easy to grab as I'm moving through a chord progression. And then my root position, C major 7. Dominant, major 7, major 7. Definitely a big feel difference from. And the only thing that's different between that is the 7 tone. Very important to understand.